It's a 57-year-old Vietnamese gentleman shot in the groin. They believe that
For the next 3 nights, we're going to create situations for you to consider. None of them actually happened, although you will recognize elements of each in real-life news.
So we'll do the page shooting, we'll do the main robbery.
We're going to invent moral and ethical questions that could confront a big city newsroom like ours, and then ask you what you would do if you were the news director. Our first case strikes very close to home. It concerns the evidence in the murder trial of Paul Bernardo. You'll remember the media applied to Mr. Justice Patrick Lesage to have access to the brutally explicit videotapes Bernardo recorded. Their argument, the public had a constitutional right to see and hear this crucial part of the case. For this news serial, You Be the News Director, we're putting our own spin on reality. Whereas, in fact, the court ruled against the application, for our purposes, we're saying the opposite. In this scenario, the media is granted full access to all the videotape. That, of course, includes the most vivid interplay between Bernardo and his then-wife Carla Homolka, the sexual assaults on Kristen French and Leslie Mahaffey, and their last-minute pleas for mercy. Here are the dilemmas that now face you, the news director. A. Despite the court permission, you can choose not to broadcast any part of the explicit tapes. This is the least offensive route to take, but you risk being scooped by your competition. And more importantly, you fail to provide the public the information they need to assess who is guiltier, Bernardo or Homolka.
Lottery winner gives
B. You choose to broadcast some segments of the tapes. These include scenes between husband and wife depicting the dominant, submissive nature of their relationship, but exclude those scenes showing the victimization of the schoolgirls. However, you do believe the tapes are vital in revealing the horrific extent of the girls' terror, and so you would also approve the broadcast of their heart-wrenching pleas for life. Some, of course, would immediately accuse you of sensationalism. Or C. The public has the right to know and see everything. Here, you would be bound by broadcast regulations against obscenity, but you would reveal to the audience as much as possible. Using some electronic camouflaging, you would show genitalia, penetration, sexual assault, violence. You would argue this is what the jury must watch, and so like any evidence, it should be a matter of the public record. So here are your choices. A, broadcast no part of the tapes. B, broadcast some parts with conditions. Or C, broadcast everything. Now, before you call us with your choices on our 900 numbers, there's a twist to your dilemma. As news director, you receive in the morning mail a letter from the victims' families. They describe in heartbreaking detail their sorrow and loss. They beg for the media's understanding when they ask that none of the tapes be broadcast in any form. Now what do? If your choice is A, broadcast no part of the tapes, call 1-900-273-0444. If your choice is B, broadcast some of the tapes with conditions, call 1-900-273-0445. Or if your choice is C, broadcast all part of the tapes, call us at 1-900-273-0446. You can make your call anytime before 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Each call will cost you 75 cents. We'll also be gathering together a live audience to sample their reactions with our new perception analyzer technology, and you'll see how they voted at the end of the week.
A new look at Carla's deal.
The Attorney General orders a review.
Have a right to a complete...
Now serving a life sentence as a dangerous
story. You can walk away.
Well,
Once again, what you're about to see is a fictionalized scenario based on a real-life news situation. We're going to invent moral and ethical questions that could confront a big city newsroom like ours. And then we'll ask you what you would do if you were the news director. Your dilemma begins when an unruly crowd marches through the downtown core, smashing windows and looting stores. Initially, the group is a small one. Football fans upset with their team's playoff loss. But as they march, their numbers grow to include street kids and opportunistic troublemakers. Your news cameras are on location everywhere, and in fact you have gathered so much videotape, you are able to produce a half-hour live broadcast from the scene showing numerous images of crime taking place.
Let's go! Everybody up!
No one is seriously hurt or killed in the melee, but there is significant property damage, and merchants are again angry. Police are unable to protect them.
Camcorders, systems, all systems, more than $10,000-15,000.
Under increased pressure to arrest the culprits, investigating police arrive on the newsroom doorstep. Police are convinced the images your news camera have recorded could provide them with crucial evidence. Having viewed the tapes yourself, you think they may be right. Police request copies of the tapes, which they say they will use to identify and prosecute the offenders.
So this is a private security from the city.
Here are the choices that now face you, the news director. A. Understanding that you may possess unique footage, you immediately agree to make copies for the police. But this invites criticism from those who believe the media should be impartial, not an investigative arm of law enforcement. B. Accepting that once you've broadcast any image, it is in the public domain, you agree to provide police with copies of your actual broadcasts during the night in question. You explain to those who protest that the police could have recorded these images on their own VCRs. You do not turn over any of the so-called raw or unedited, unaired material, which in any newsroom is sacrosanct.
Really, it's the jury has been selected. Is the story, the trial is going to begin.
C. Wanting to protect the integrity of your news video and the reputation of your newsroom, you refuse to turn over any part of the videotapes. This guarantees absolute independence and assures future tipsters that you can be trusted to protect your news sources. So here are your choices. A. Turn over the tapes, no conditions at all. B. Release copies of what was broadcast. Or C. Refuse all police requests for tape. But before you call us with your choices on our 900 numbers, there's a twist. Anticipating your refusal to comply, police have gone to court to obtain a subpoena ordering the newsroom to assist them. But bogged down by many arguments, the court has adjourned the case for several weeks. You now know how insistent the police will be. And if you choose to refuse their requests, you could be cited for contempt of court. Now what do you do? If your choice is A, hand over any tapes the police request, call 1-900-273-0444. B, give police copies of what was broadcast. Call 1-900-273-0445. Or C, refuse all police requests for tape. Call us at 1-900-273-0446. You can vote anytime before 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Each call will cost you 75 cents. And watch for the results of our live audience poll at the end of the week.
A new look at Carla's deal.
The Attorney General orders a review.
Have a right to a complete
Serving a life sentence as a dangerous
story. You can walk away.
Well,
Tonight, our final scenario in which we once again invent moral and ethical questions that regularly confront newsrooms like ours. And then we ask you what you would do if you were the news director. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at the week's responses and compare them with the real decisions that would be made by Citypulse News Director Stephen Hurlbut.
We're just going to come out and play and try to get
In tonight's story, Citypulse crews are staking out the downtown track where Toronto's sex trade flourishes. We're gathering a series of reports on prostitution. Disguised in an unmarked van, our cameras are busy recording prospective clients as they negotiate fees for service. We have chosen this site on this night because we've been tipped off that police are planning a crackdown.
That was a signal. Here we go. The van comes around, he comes out the side, he comes out the other way. They're all there. There you go.
There is indeed a late-night roundup of suspects, and police formally charge 3 young women with soliciting and a half a dozen men with being their customers. And this is one of those rare occasions when police, responding to public pressure, ask the media to publish the names not only of the women, but the men as well. The police are unaware, though, we have videotaped the entire operation, and we find a glaring omission when police release the names of the Johns and prostitutes. It's clear from our pictures one of the men picked up is a much-loved sports figure. He's a family man, married for several years with school-aged children. He's also a prominent fundraiser for a major charity. Within the community, his reputation is impeccable. We're surprised to see that his name has been left off the list of the people charged that night, when in fact, it's clear from our video he was involved with a prostitute, and he was one of the men picked up that night by police. Here are the choices that now face you, the news director. A, you continue your long-standing policy of not publishing names of those involved in relatively minor prostitution cases. Just like routine break-ins or car thefts, these arrests are seldom newsworthy enough for extensive coverage.
Saying that they've had a heart attack. Only 15% though.
B, recognizing the celebrity status of the sports figure you know to have been involved and arrested, you broadcast his name only. You understand this will impact greatly on his family and his reputation, but you also believe the behavior and character of celebrities is always subject to public scrutiny. Or C, you make no distinction amongst those picked up, and so you broadcast all the names, men and women, famous and obscure. But before you call us with your choices on our 900 numbers, there is a twist. The police have discovered we have the incriminating video, and they assume, quite rightly, we've captured the celebrity on tape.
He's making about $10 million a year, and he's a huge public figure.
When you confirm this to them, they ask, off the record, if you could disregard their initial request that you publish all the names. They explain the sports figure is so beloved in the wider community, this one indiscretion should not destroy what has been, until now, an unblemished career. Now what do you do? If your choice is A, broadcast none of the names, call 1-900-273-0444. B, broadcast only the celebrity's name, call 1-900-273-0445. Or if your choice is C, broadcast all the names, men and women including the sports figure, call us at 1-900-273-0446. Remember, you can call in your choice anytime before 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Each call will cost you 75 cents. You'll get to compare your decisions with a live audience whose reactions we've gathered with our new perception analyzer technology. And with the man who really decides at Citypulse, News Director Stephen Hurlbut.
What's Carla's deal?
The Attorney General orders a review.
Have a right to a
Now
complete
serving a life sentence as a dangerous offense.
You can walk away.
Failure to account for
Circumstances. Well,
In our first fictional scenario, the court allows the media complete access to the Bernardo tapes. This is how the Citypulse viewing audience voted. 69% called for our first choice. Citypulse should broadcast no part of the tapes. 17% voted for some video with conditions. A smaller number chose to see all of the video evidence.
Hands up if you're not getting any action on your dial or if the numbers are not changing.
Using our new perception analyzer technology, we showed a studio audience our 3 scenarios too. Here, the differences were glaring. A small majority would broadcast some of the tapes with conditions, but our home audience clearly felt differently.
We'd certainly limit the editing process and the video that we put forward, because this is a supper hour newscast, and there are restrictions and there are community standards, and we're not in the business of offending people. We would show the victimless crime, the relationship between Paul and Carla, and the power relationship, the debauchery, the bizarre nature of their relationship.
And would the letter from the families have an impact on your decision?
It would certainly bring a greater sense of humanity to the decision and the editing process.
So
Yes, it would be effective. Yes, it would stop us from showing any pleas for mercy from the victims themselves. There are lines of taste and compassion that we have to draw.
Our second story dealt with a riot on Yonge Street. The dilemma facing the news director: do you hand over videotape to police? 59% of you who called in from home said Citypulse should turn over the tapes without conditions. 30% would release copies of what was broadcast, and only 11% would refuse all police requests for tape.
Now what do you do? If your choice is A.
Again, the numbers shift for our in-house audience. Fewer would turn over tapes to police, no conditions attached, but even a smaller number would refuse the police altogether. In this scenario, with the riots, what would you do?
We are not an extension of the law. We are not part of their investigative process, and we would deny all requests for tape until we received a subpoena from the court or a court order.
There may be instances, says Hurlbut, where a promise of confidentiality to a source is a critical principle of journalism that must be upheld and fought for in face of any court order.
This is not one of them. Young punks shopping for stereos with their feet, rioting for no apparent reason on Yonge Street, is not something that the dignity of this profession will hang its hat around.
And finally, our last story: a fictional sports celebrity is captured with a prostitute on videotape during a police crackdown. Clearly, in this scenario, most of you watching didn't want to make a distinction between the celebrity and the others caught in the police crackdown. 64% of you voted to name them all. Our in-house audience felt much the same. A surprising number of you would broadcast none of the names, and less than 10% on both sides would reveal the identity of the sports figure. We have a celebrity caught in a sex scandal. Do we burn him?
We burn him. I'm sorry, but we burn him. Our job is to report news, and he's a celebrity. He's famous by nature, and the nature of celebrity is to put that on the air.
Even though we may hurt his family, destroy his reputation, we go ahead.
It may not have been the case 25 years ago when presidents could have affairs with movie stars, but times have changed.
That's news.
That's news.